So it's been, I think now, we're in the third year or fourth year, I can't even remember, of our game building unit. And what I'm finding is that every year it's getting better because we're able to reflect on what has gone wrong or what we can improve on. And this year it was really cool because I think because we've done it for the last 3 years and I've been in a team with the same teachers, we're now all on the same page about making it happen. So everyone's into it. So this year, one of the teachers brought in an Atari, I brought in a Wii. It was really cool having the consoles and looking at like old games, and the kids got to look at the graphics, and it was really good for them because they couldn't believe that Super Mario Brothers, the original version, was the original version because they were used to playing these 3D versions of Mario. And what was also great was that I brought a lot of my games and we got to analyse what you actually get when you buy a game. So for the first time ever, we got to analyse like the packaging of games and what comes inside like a game package. And so the kids got to sort of, for the first time ever, as a team, we ordered like 100 DVD cases. And the kids actually got to create their own DVD cases with their own like covers and stuff like that. So we got to actually analyse like what a game cover has on the front, on the back. So they took like screenshots of their games they built and then they stuck them on the back of the game covers, and it actually looked like a real product you would buy. And then they had to create like little game booklets, like because when you buy a game, you get a little game booklet, like instruction manual, so I'll pass those along. And these took like, the kids have never made anything like this, so you can have a look at them inside if you want. They're pretty cool actually. So I'll pass a few, and that's got all the like literacy stuff in it. So it's got like the stories, the level designs, and in the end we photocopied these game booklets. So in the end of the unit, every kid got a DVD case with a CD-ROM in it, with their game in it, and a game booklet. So it looked like they had actually a retail kind of product. And yeah, that's it. But that's basically it. But the great thing is like that this unit has been able to build towards this. Like, no, it's a bit unfair on the other kids because then the other kids have been coming up and saying, why didn't we ever get to do this? And I'm like, well, because we're getting better as teachers. That's why. I'm sorry I failed you last year. But yeah, so now it's gotten to the point where, like, where do we go on from this if we do it next year? Because this took quite a bit of effort to happen. Like, burning the CDs took quite a while. Having to get the DVDs in from South Australia because they were the cheapest. Getting the cases, getting the kids to make these booklets took a lot of effort too, because in the past we just did them on random pieces of paper and they just shoved them into these big game things, but it just wasn't really reflecting like the games that you buy in the shops. And they all knew about this stuff, but what they didn't know was like showing them the game cases that we brought from home, that sort of urged them to produce something of good quality too. And you can see the various quality of work, but they all had to work together to create these. So they were able to, in a team, they were able to say, okay, you're going to do the level designs, you can do the story. And they like also honed in on their skills. So some teams, like that team there, Ice Cream Town Studios, they're real and these are grade 3s too. They had a fabulous writer, so they said to her, you write the story. They had a fabulous illustrator. I'm going to help with illustrations. And it was really like cool seeing kids honing on their skills, because that's what I would do too. If I was in a team, I would be saying, oh yeah, I'm good at this. I'll take this on board. And their games are also pretty amazing too. The quality of the games they produced were really cool and creative, and they all worked really well. And they all looked at structures of games too. So they all had levels, they all had bosses. Yeah, those kind of things. The only thing they didn't have was the only thing I think that next year we could push is that the story doesn't get driven within the game. So the story starts off in the instruction booklet, like there's a little introduction to the story, but then like there's no real story elements within the game saying what's happening in the story. So for instance, like there's no animations like that you would get in a real game. So it's just a game. Like when you play a real retail game, there's sometimes story sequences between characters. Yeah, so they're not up to that stage yet, because that's kind of tricky, implementing those animations within the game, because then Scratch gets very complex. You're broadcasting messages back and forth, and yeah, it can get a bit tricky. But I reckon they're up there. They could be capable of it.
I did that before the actual game.
Yeah. Yeah, like an introduction screen.
Animation to sort of set the story.
Yeah, and we've had groups do that before too, but then it doesn't happen again in the game. That's it, because it's easy to do it at the start, and it's very easy to do it at the end, but to do it within the middle of the game, yeah, it's very tricky.
The table of contents.
Yeah, table of contents. Yeah. So, but it's been really good. Like I'm fine. Like I think this has been the best year we've had.
Because you were talking when you came up to Queensland in the middle of the year about how this year the kids had put introductions and conclusions to their games, or they put, is that right? They put title pages. And was that last year?
Yeah. Like when we first did this unit, like there was no introduction screens, there was no credits. But now, like I said, each year as teachers, I think we're expecting more of them too. So we're saying like, we're expecting this, we're expecting that, where in the first year we didn't know what to expect. So they just made something that worked. But now the games are getting more structure, like the output of the work's getting better because we know what to expect. Like next year, I'll show them that and I'll say this is what last year's kids did, and it gives them sort of like an inspiration to get better and produce something of that high quality.
Did the kids mind that time that they could have been spent making games they were writing and things?
Oh no, because a lot of the kids loved making these booklets, like especially this team here, for some reason, and this team loved making this booklet. I don't know, they just the making. I think it was a good balance of technology and using your hands and using like art, and then the two merging together. So I think that's what they also loved, that it wasn't just like some sessions they didn't even touch a computer for the whole, it was them just working on the booklet. And a lot of them also, some of them had this sense that they had to finish this first before they could get to coding for some reason. And that was their decision, not my decision, because I guess maybe there's also this element of they were building these games for an audience, and they understood that without the game booklet, like how is an audience supposed to know how to play the game? Because the game booklet had to explain how to play the game too. And I think they understood that, they're not going to put the instructions within the game, although many games these days are doing that, but they don't have those kind of coding skills to do that. So yeah, I think they got that too. Yeah, and this one's really funny too, because it's got a character in it that because it's a Cube family, and in the profile it says Cube Dad dislikes people trying to go out with his daughter. It's really funny. It's really, I don't know. Funny stuff coming out of them. Yeah. Thanks.
It's really interesting too, like the kids, we interviewed the other week. The first time you did it, I remember interviewing those kids, and they were all talking about how they were beset upon by all these problems with setting up their design teams. And that was really that focus that first year, and kids drifting from group to group.
Oh, yeah. Which didn't happen this year.
Yeah, and this year they're like...
Yeah, and this year's probably been the year where I've had the less technical class. Like, they came in with less ICT skills compared to other kids previous years, but they still produced probably some of the best work.
Yeah.
So that's interesting too. Probably because I'm more confident too with Scratch myself.